Welcome back, everybody. Greetings and salutations to all. I hope everyone is having a glorious day. It's beautiful weather out here. The sun is shining and the weather is sweet. Alright, today I'm freestyling, y'all. I ain't really got nothing in particular to talk about. I'm just basically, like I said, I'm gonna just freestyle this one. I hope y'all like it. But as you know, this page is based on saving our next generation from making the same choices in life that me, myself, and a lot of others had made, you know. See, when we was growing up, like, I'm gonna say me, when I was growing up, right? I was born in the mid-70s. I ain't afraid to tell my age either. I'm 49. I'll be 50 in June the 13th. That's my birthday. So back to what I was saying. When I was growing up, this is before, you know, the crack era and all of that. I would say it was pretty normal and decent until around 84. Yeah, 84, 85 definitely. 86 it was full-fledged, you know, drugged out, cracked out, you know. But basically what I'm saying is, when we was coming up, we didn't have the advantages that you younger generations, you know, the youth of today have. For instance, we didn't have the internet where you could go online and fill out a million job interviews and all that. We would have to walk, take the train, you know, bus or whatever, to get to these different places of employment. And there was a lot of nepotism back in the days too. You know, you had your different families that ran different businesses. If you didn't look like them, talk like them, you know, they would politely say they're not hiring. And then you'll go there and see they got new employees that look like them and talk like them. So you get the picture. You know, it wasn't really nothing out for the young back in the 80s. It wasn't, you know. I will say it was a beautiful time to grow up because we did have a decent childhood because we didn't have the internet. And I'm grateful that I grew up in that generation because, you know, we was allowed to be kids. We filled the basketball courts. We filled the playgrounds. Like today, you ride around, nobody's playing basketball, nobody's in a baseball field. You know, you might see some Mexicans playing soccer and all that. But as far as us, nah. You don't see that no more. You don't see no recreation going on for the children. There's nothing out here for the children, as a matter of fact. But I don't want to go too far off a topic. Back to what I was saying as far as when I was growing up. It wasn't no opportunities out here. So what we started off doing was, like, I'm from Far Rockaway. You know? If y'all don't know where that's at, that's in New York City. It's like a branch of Queens, even though we don't claim to be part of Queens. If you're from Far Rockaway, you know what I'm talking about. You know, we call ourselves the sixth borough, you know. But yeah, we would start off, you know, we go around Mart Avenue, go to Wall Bounce. You know, they would let us go up there and pack bags. You know, that's how we would eat. You know what I mean? Straight up, we would go pack bags at Wall Bounce and, you know, go down the block for the day over with, get some more money packing bags at Key Food. you know. So another hustle we had, the last place I lived in Far Rock was Beach 38th Street. And if you're familiar with the area, it's a gas station at the corner of the block. We would pump gas. And it was rough too because, like I said, we was just kids, man, and we would pump gas. It was a self-serve gas station, but we didn't let people get out their car because that's how we got money, by pumping their gas. So, we would pump gas at nighttime, and you would have to call your cars. Well, we would do it at daytime too, but mostly at night. You would have to call your cars, like, yo, you see the car coming in, that's my car right there. It was, you had to call your cars because once the cars came in, dudes was running up to the car, and it had to be law and order, or no, you wouldn't get no money. So when you claim your car, you got to be ready to bust a head open for that car. You got to be able to, defend yourself for that car, because you know how it is, man. People is gonna be who they are. They, if you're not built for certain things, you're gonna get taken advantage of. You ain't gonna have your way. And I wasn't having it. You know what I mean? I still ain't having it. But as a kid, I fought for mine. Me and my brother. So we had to throw our hands a couple times because we'd say that's my car, and dudes would still run up to the car, and you don't want to punch the dude while he's taking your car, because that's gonna mess the hustle up. So you wait till he finished pumping the gas. You try to be professional, and when the car leaves, it's on. You do what you gotta do, whatever. I don't promote no violence on here, so I ain't gonna get too discreet on that. But sometimes, it wasn't a lot of cars coming through. It wasn't a good night as far as pumping gas, and we would bust the air pump. I was the first one, matter of fact. I'm the originator of that. Nobody know nothing about that before I did it. I did that joint back in, it was, I don't even know, 86, around 86. On Beach 38, I bust the air pump joint where you put the quarters in. I don't know how I knew how to do it, but it just came to me. So, boom, I bust the joint open. Never forget. And once you knock the joint down, it's a hole right there, and you look in, you can see the quarters or whatever. So I'm like, damn, how am I gonna get these quarters out? Because you can't take the joint and dump the quarters out. It's planted into the ground. So we would, well, not we, me, I took a, I had, after everybody seen me do it, they went to all the gas stations they could find and did it, whatever. But I found a little stick, and I bought some chewing gum, chewed it up real good, and put it at the end of the stick, and I stuck the stick down there about 1,000 times until all of the quarters was out. And I'll never forget, after the quarters was all, I had them in my shirt. And you gotta have respect to walk through I had all of the quarters in my shirt like this. Like, in my shirt. And I had to walk like this to my crib or whatever. And nobody ain't try to take nothing, because, I was, anything that you came up with back then, you shared, It was a different time. So everybody knew, they was gonna get their, whatever I was planning on, giving or whatever. Because we all was family. You know, they knew what we was gonna do with the money. We was just gonna go to Hamels to the arcade, you know, and play games all day, you know. But moral of the story is we made do with what we had. You know, we had to find our way because, like I said, it wasn't people staring at me over there. It wasn't no opportunities, you know. It really wasn't. So fuck these niggas want, man. What up? What's up?
Good, and you?
I'm great, man.
Yeah, I see your apartment and apartment list. We need to see what is the requirement.
You asking me? How you know I live here?
Ah, okay. I think so.
Yeah, I'm just parked up.
Ah, okay.
I'm making me a little YouTube video for my page.
Okay, it's okay. Oh no, it's not you. Thank you. I'm so sorry.
Ah, you good, man. Much success. Sorry about that, y'all. You gotta keep your head on the swivel out here, you know? Because there's always somebody watching you. I don't know what these dudes up to, but more power to them. But back to what I was saying, man, yeah, I got a lot of opportunity. Y'all got nothing but opportunity out here. And y'all still trying to relive our lives. Just like these rappers out here rapping about our lives. They never lived it. They never lived it, I promise you. They talk about lives of people like me, even though I don't live that life no more. I got all the opportunities in the world. There's no reason for nobody to be breaking the law. It's not. Second of all, where's the money at? You know, when we was out here, it was cheese lines, we used to call them. You know, put it like this, man. When you open your door, it was money everywhere. You know, everybody was strung out, zombies, you know, looking like zombies or whatever. It turned, you know, a lot of great people into zombies. I seen it. You know, no matter what your status was, once you know, got a hold of that crack, freebase, whatever you want to call it. In North Carolina, they call it rocks. Once you got that in your life, you went from sugar to shit real quick. You know, I never indulged, you know, in using it. Never will. I never indulged in no drugs, you know. But I feel like herb is natural, so even though I don't indulge in that no more, but I used to smoke. But anyway, back to what I was saying, man. Y'all don't really get it, man. You got the iPhone. That's a money maker right there. Everybody has an iPhone. I don't know how. They so expensive, but everybody got one. Or a smartphone. It ain't gotta be no iPhone, just a smartphone. You got too many gadgets, you know, the iPod, you know, laptops. People is making a living off of these things right here alone, where they don't have to leave the comfort of their home. You know, they travel abroad and they get paid, you know, and everything's legal. There's nobody getting rich by selling drugs. There's nobody getting rich by, you know, scamming. I mean, and if they do, once the feds get them, they take everything. Then they come back out here, you know, with nothing. So is it worth it? Same thing with the drug dealers, man. You know, no matter how long you out there in the game, you could be out there for a year, a month. It's like this, man. you know, it's you against them. And you know what I mean when I say them. You got to beat them 365 days of the year. Guess what? They only got to beat you once. You out of here. So you don't want to be playing with those kind of odds, man. You know? If nobody ain't never tell you, it's cool to be a law-abiding citizen. It's cool to get a job. You know? It's definitely not cool to be a criminal. It's not. Take it from me. It's not, man. You know, I was extremely blessed. And when I say extremely, I mean extremely blessed, you know? Because I've been involved with the system where I was only 20 in Superior Court, facing 25 to life. I've been through some things. Let's just put it like that, you know? And that's why I opened this page, because I feel like the Most High brought me through all of that for a reason, you know, which gives me my purpose. You know, I feel like somebody got to do it, you know. As long as you have a voice, you could make change, you know. And we need change, man, because the children are the future, man, and we losing our youth, man. You know, they killing each other, they backdooring each other, they doing the most, man. It's not no love out here, man. It's not no honor, no integrity, and it's no reason for nobody to even be trying to cling to this lifestyle. You know, if you're trying to get a girl, you could get a girl with a job. Simple. There's no reason to break the law no more, man. It's not. It's not. Unless you just stuck on stupid and that's, you know, that's your reality or whatever. But, man, listen, nobody really gets it until it's too late. You know, you don't want to be that person where it's just too late. Everything you thought about you is false. You're not as strong as you thought you was. You know what I mean? You're not. You're not as strong as you think you are, because you ain't been through nothing. You ain't been tested. You know? But I just want to be the voice of this next generation. Take it from me. I've been there and done that. Everything y'all doing, you know, but it ain't banging, man. And this gang stuff, I'm so glad that, you know, when I was growing up, it was about hoods and blocks. You know, even in jail, it wasn't all of that, you know, gang stuff. It was, what hood you from? You know, what block you from, or whatever. But now, everything is ganged out, and let me tell you, man, it's taking us out. It's not a good look for us, you know. We're not gangsters. We gods, man. I'm here to tell you, that ain't our identity. It's a false representation of who we are, man. You know, like I said, once upon a time, sure, you had to get out there. You know what I mean? You did. About 30-something years ago, you had to. You know, some people was fortunate to have mothers and fathers that had great jobs, that wasn't on drugs. My parents was on drugs. My father, he was one of the big dudes or whatever, Jamaican, you know how they do. He doing what he doing. My mother, she was in the game too. Had the furs, the minks and all that. But they fell victim as well. And that's when my life went shoo. You know, they split up when I was very young. So I didn't have a father growing up. I have memories of him when I was like I'll say from I was born until I was like 6, 7, 8, something like that. But after that, he left New York and married his wife and started a new family. And yeah, he left us for dead in Far Rockaway. It's not a place where, you know, you leave your baby mother and your children. And I ain't throwing no shots at my pop. I love him to death, just like he raised me. You know, when he was in the feds, I was the only one that came to visit him. Then when he got deported back to Jamaica, guess what? I was the first one that went to go see him. So I'm not throwing no shots at my pop. Not at all. And I defend my pop for anybody else trying to throw shots at him. I am my pop. I don't make the same choices in life that he did. You know, I got 3 young boys. Well, they men now, but I got 3 boys and 2 girls, and I raised all of them, me and my wife. I've been married 26 years, 25 years rather. You know how we exaggerate and all that. I raised them all. Never left my wife, never left my kids, and I'm still with my wife. You know, one of my daughters is still with us, she's 14, but everybody else got, you know, they grown, they went on their own, as they should. So, yeah, you know, I knew as a child that I was gonna be a good father because I wouldn't wish my childhood on nobody. You know, that's why I knew if I lived to be a father and a husband, I was gonna be the greatest husband and the greatest father that I could be. And that's what saved me from the streets, because everybody I came up with is either dead or wish they was dead, because they dead man's walking. You know what I mean? In a prison somewhere, they don't have no freedom. You know, they don't get no visits. They don't see their family no more or hear from their family after a certain point of time. You just a dead man walking, you know? And it's a sad story, man. But me, that kept me grounded. I came home every night, no matter what. I didn't go clubbing. I didn't do what my friends did. I was sure about who I was. You know, I didn't have no peer pressure. I didn't care what people thought about me. I was never a follower. You know, I don't have none of that, you know, no kind of problems. Like, I never had problems like that. I never been a real friendly dude. You know, always been standoffish because of my upbringing or whatever. So, you know, I got trust issues. I'm never in one place too long. I still move like I'm living a life, but I'm not. Trust me when I tell you. I'm a businessman. You know, I got a real estate company. I got a rental car company. I got a painting company. You know, my main goal is just to create multiple streams of income where I'm making more money in my sleep than dudes is making, you know, at their job or whatever. I think everybody's main focus should be creating multiple streams of income. You know, and legitimate streams of income. That way you sleep better. You know, you don't want things on your conscience. You know, so you want to make the right decisions. You know, you want to use constructive thought. I hope I'm talking loud enough where I ain't got to remake this video. But yeah, man, y'all just do the right thing. Listen to your parents, man, because nobody loves you like your parents. When you get in rough situations, you want to run, you know, get locked up. I know all about it, man. There ain't nobody gonna be in your corner but your parents, man. And the only time you really rely on them is when you're in the jam. And that's not good, man, because they always got your back. So you should always have theirs in return, man. You know, nobody's gonna love you more than your parents. Trust me when I tell you that. You know, peer pressure is a sin to kids, because a lot of kids suffer from that to the point I ain't even gonna go down that road, but you gotta be sure of yourself, man. This is for men, women, boys and girls. You have to be sure of who you are. It helps, it helps get you out of a lot of situations, man. It makes your choice making so much easier, and you gotta know when to say no. A lot of people don't know how to say no, and it affects their life because they get taken advantage of, but like I said, man, you gotta be sure of yourself, man. You can't worry about what the next man or next woman is thinking about you or saying about you. That's not gonna affect your pockets, man. Focus on, health and wealth. That's it. Eat right. Eat a lot of fruits. That's the only way you're gonna eat right. Eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, especially fruits with seeds in them, man. And read. Nobody reads no more. I still read. I love reading. Read, man. You have to read. And I ain't talking about no Audible app where it's reading it to you. A lot of people do that now. It's just reading is spiritual, man. Just like writing. That's something that I like to do. I write music. I write poems, things like that. I love writing. I'm an artist as well. I paint, I sketch, I do murals. I'm a man of many talents. I like to consider myself wasted talent because I could have been a lot of things, but the streets consumed my youth. It did. Not just mine, my brothers, both of my brothers. I got a lot of brothers, but, only two of them really did time, state, fed, and that just wasn't the life for us. We was victims, we was. And I ain't speaking from a victim mentality or nothing. I'm just telling you what it is, Nothing is accidental or coincidental, Somebody's responsible for, everything, But yeah, man, I love y'all. No matter if y'all love me back, no matter where y'all at. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing to get this message out. Please, like, share, subscribe. I ain't perfect. I'm just getting used to this YouTube stuff. I'm not with this, but I'm trying to, I'm trying to prove to myself that I can do this. Because first of all, there's money in it. I ain't doing this for the money though. Money has never been hard for me to get. But I'm doing this to save the youth. That's it. Save the youth. And if you like what I'm doing, feel free to, chime in or whatever. Yeah, I'm gonna have some people up here where I'm gonna be interviewing certain people that could elaborate on different topics like going to school, continuing your education. Everybody figure, you graduate from high school, oh, I made it. Nah. You have to further your education. You got to go to college. Unless you have a degree, a trade, you know, you got things figured out. A lot of people don't have to go to college. You know, most millionaires didn't go to college. You know, if you have things figured out where, like I said, you one of them that reads, do your research, you know, life ain't gonna be so hard for you. You're gonna find your way, you know. Trust me. But yeah, man, you know, send your kids to the channel. I ain't gonna have no explicit stuff up here that they can't watch. This channel is, you know, dedicated to the youth. I want to know that before I pass on to the essence that I did my part as far as, you know, my duty as a civilized man to teach civilization to what? The uncivilized. If we was all civilized, this world would be civilized, but it's not. It's chaos. So, like I said, you know, it's also important to have knowledge of yourself, you know, and you're only gonna get that through life experiences and reading, you know. You have to expand your mind. You have to expand your mind. You know, everybody wants to go to the gym. Nobody wants to go to the library. They both gyms. When you go to Planet Fitness, you're working out the body, the physical. When you go to the library, you're working out this right here, or the third eye, the all-seeing eye. You know, some people call it the pineal gland. But anyway, all I'm saying is, mind is a terrible thing to waste. If you don't use it, you will lose it. Trust me. You know, ain't nothing cool being a gangster. Ain't nothing cool with being a criminal. Let's be real with each other, man. It's not. It's not. And we more than just rappers and basketball players and football players. You know, we are the creators of math, science, you know, everything. You know, we full of potential. We full of potential. You know, we are the original people of this planet, you know? So you got to take pride in that, man. Once you learn that, you know, the earth belongs to the original people of the planet, it gives you a sense of pride. Knowledge itself gives you a sense of pride and dignity. You know? It do. And it's cool to be smart. It's cool to have knowledge of who you are. That's the cool. That's the new cool. You ain't got to be a nerd to be smart. And it's cool to be a nerd too. You know? You might laugh at the nerd, but guess what? You're going to be working for the nerd if you don't get your life together. If you don't go to, you know, go the right way. You know, nerds got it, you know, where they're going to be cool in the future. You know, because they are smart, they're learning, you know. They have parents that steer them to the right direction and, you know, show them that this is the way, and they follow that way. But when you don't have two parents, excuse me, you just got your mother in the house raising you. She's your mother and your father. That could be a liability, man, because everybody needs their father in the house. It is a liability. I'm gonna be straight up. It is a liability. Everybody needs their father in the house as well as their mother. You know? That's what makes life complete. Both parents. You know? But you got people who got fathers and mothers that still turn out to be criminals or whatever, because back to what I was saying, it's that peer pressure. You know, you think the girls ain't gonna like me if I don't dress like them, if I don't be like them. That's being a follower, man. You know, you don't want to compromise your integrity or nothing like that. Stay true to who you are. Anything you want is gonna come to you. Trust me. Trust me. You know? Anyway, y'all, it's about time for me to sign off. Get back to business. Every time I do this, I take time out my day. This is just the love that I got for the next generation. Every day I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put out content for y'all to show y'all, man. Nah, that ain't the way. That ain't the way. You don't want to leave this planet too soon, too early. If you don't want to be an inmate at one of these prisons, follow this channel and you'll be alright. Because I ain't gonna lead nobody down that path. Nah. Nope. Be mindful of the music you listen to, man, because you might not even know, you know, the music you listening to is affecting you. It's becoming a part of you where, like in one of my videos, I said, you know, food for thought video, you are what you eat. I used to listen to hardcore rap, Mobb Deep, Onyx, MOP, you know, because they was talking my language. The list goes on. And it was fuel for the fire. I'm just being honest, man. You know, you listen to it while you doing your thing in the streets. It's like a soundtrack to the life. You know, you might have your little spot where you getting money. You're gonna have that music playing because it falls in line with it. You know, it makes you feel like you're doing the right thing. But really, it's just misleading you, man. It is. Most people don't snap out of it until they my age. Or, you know, some people just don't. You know, and it's sad. I hope these videos is reaching y'all. I hope that I'm, you know, I hope that I'm, how should I put it? Getting through to y'all. You know, I get better. Like I said, I'm just starting out with this. I know I look crazy. Just give me some time to get adjusted. And we're gonna take this to the moon. Trust me, man. Anything I put my time and energy in, I win. I win because I don't accept no excuses. You know? There ain't no space in this world for weakness, man. It's not. Always remember that, man. There's no space in this world for weakness. You gotta be strong out here. You have to be strong out here, man. You know? In order to provide and protect for your wife and your family, you gotta be strong. You know? I come from a strong background. My mother, you know, very violent. I'm not making excuses, but you know, when you come from violence, you become violence, you know. My father, same thing. You know, I got Jamaican parents, you know. Whew. You know, Jamaican blood is hot, you know. But I'm gonna get up out of here, y'all. Signing off. Peace.